Hello and welcome. Today, we're going to take a step back and talk about something really, really fundamental. We're going to tell a story about a journey from seeing security as just a bunch of products to understanding it as a way of thinking. So, let me just ask you a question. When you hear that word security, especially in the world of tech, what's the very first thing that pops into your head? For most of us, it's usually a tool, right? A feature, some kind of product. Maybe you picture a powerful firewall, that big digital wall that's supposed to protect everything inside. Or, hey, maybe it's multi-factor authentication, that extra check that's always asking, hey, is that really you? It might even be that antivirus software, just humming away quietly, always scanning for threats. And look, all of these things are super important, but they're not the whole story, not even close. See, most people think security is basically a checklist. You enable this, you install that, and check, you're done. But true security, well, it's something much deeper. And this is the story of someone who learned that lesson and how it completely changed everything for him. Let's meet Alex. Alex was a really talented IT admin, and he was proud, justifiably so, of the environment he'd built. He called it his fortress of features. And he truly believed, with every fiber of his being, that it was impenetrable. And Alex had done everything right, completely by the book. His Citrix setup was perfect. He had all the latest, most advanced security appliances. Modern authentication systems, in place. His antivirus was always up to date, and his firewall rules were locked down tight. He had all the pieces. In his mind, the logic was so simple. We have the best tools, he'd say, therefore, we are secure. It was an equation that just made perfect sense to him. But it was an equation that was about to be tested. Then one afternoon, something happened. It wasn't some huge catastrophic breach. No alarms went off, no systems crashed. It was much, much quieter than that. It was like a shadow at the gate. Just a subtle incident, a near miss, that showed a tiny little crack in his fortress. As Alex started digging into it, he came to this really unnerving conclusion. None of his tools had actually failed. The firewall held strong, the antivirus came up clean. The vulnerability, it wasn't in his technology. It came from a poor decision, a small shortcut someone had taken just to make things easier. It was a failure of mindset. That night, Alex just sat with this uncomfortable truth. He realized he'd been so focused on building the walls, he hadn't thought nearly enough about the little decisions being made inside those walls every single day. He was suddenly face to face with the core conflict of his job. He was fighting this daily battle, right? On one side, you've got this constant push for convenience. Make it easier, fewer restrictions, faster logins. And on the other side, the need for protection. Make it controlled, use strict policies, give people only the access they absolutely need. He realized he'd been solving for convenience without fully grasping the security price he was paying for each and every one of those choices. And that realization, well, it was a turning point. Alex's whole perspective just started to shift. He stopped thinking about security as something you install and started practicing it as a form of constant awareness. He was building something new now, not with tools, but with thought. So instead of just asking, how do I configure this, he started asking different kinds of questions. Questions like, why are we doing this? And what if? What if this account gets compromised? What if this simple change accidentally exposes sensitive data? And these questions, they weren't coming from a place of fear. They were coming from a deep sense of responsibility. He was learning to anticipate consequences. This new awareness started showing up in new habits, just small, disciplined actions that when you add them all up, rebuilt his fortress on a foundation that was so much stronger. He started documenting every single change, no matter how tiny. Temporary access was removed the second it wasn't needed anymore. He began to see that these little acts of discipline were the things that actually prevent the big disasters. And he learned one of the absolute hardest lessons in IT. Sometimes, the most responsible, the most secure answer you can give is simply no. No, we can't disable that control. No, I'm sorry, we can't grant that level of access. It was uncomfortable, for sure, but he finally understood that real security meant protecting the system, even when it was inconvenient. Over time, this didn't just change how Alex worked, it changed who he was as a professional. He went through this kind of final transformation. He was no longer just an operator of systems. He had developed the mind of an architect. Think about it. An operator reacts, right? They fix things after they break. But an architect anticipates. They prevent things from breaking in the first place. An operator asks, how do I do this? An architect asks, why are we doing this, and what if something goes wrong? Alex wasn't just managing tools anymore. He was managing risk. And that made all the difference. Which really brings us to the heart of his story and the core lesson for all of us. You can go out and you can buy the best security tools in the world. You really can. But what you cannot buy is discipline. You can't just install awareness. So, what's the big takeaway here? Security, it's a mindset. It's not just a feature you can toggle on. It's that continuous awareness that you bring to your work. It's built in those small daily habits of discipline. And ultimately, it's a culture of shared responsibility. So I'll leave you with this one final thought. The next time you're about to make a change, doesn't matter how simple it seems, just pause. Just for a moment. Take a breath and ask yourself one simple question. Am I thinking securely? Because that question, right there, that's where true security begins.
Hi everyone. First of all, thank you for watching this video. My name is Naresh. I am the content creator behind this YouTube channel. I have created a community for Citrix learners where I will be posting a lot of details on Citrix products and how to work in Citrix environments. I'm going to mention the link in the video description so you can click on that link and you can become part of the community. All right, see you soon. Bye bye.